here today I will be making a tutorial on the edit tool in OpenToonz. I'm going to make a lot of tutorials in the coming weeks about all of these tools. These ones probably I won't make a tutorial on because I don't work with plastic tools or with rigging, and so I don't know those very well. But I will try and get into these ones a little bit. So the edit tool is what we're going to talk about today, and it's basically it's similar to peg bars, and it just lets you move things around and edit the entire layer without actually changing any of the drawings. So to give just a basic example of this, you can go to over here, column 1. This chooses what you're editing. You can go to column 1, move it to your top of your camera. Notice it's made a keyframe over there. If you go to the bottom and move it again, you've got another keyframe. And this works anywhere you put a keyframe, but that's just going to look stupid, so we're going to undo that. And it automatically does your, interpolation and all that stuff. And if you push play, notice it's now animated your move. So this works for both columns, for columns, cameras, tables, peg bars, anything you have that you can move. Notice it's only showing column 1. This will change if you move to another column. If you move to another column, it then adds that to the list of editable ones, but it won't show up until you click on it. So the reason column 1 showed up to begin with is I already have a level on there. I've been clicking on it a lot. So the other thing you can edit the camera, and the camera back here is going to obviously affect what shows up in your render. Funny thing with it though is your camera is not going to show up in your X sheet, so you actually have to come down to the function editor if you want to edit the movement of the camera. It's got the keyframes there and the orange boxes, and the ones in between is how it figured out the move. And so you can see that's gone ahead and saved my movement. You can also edit the table, and the table can be very useful to edit because right now, if you notice, it's moving column 1 with it. And this is going to move any column that is attached to the table down here in your stage schematic. If you were to attach the table to your camera, then it would move the camera as well. You can create another layer. Let's just go ahead and make a let's make a raster layer and stretch it out, and let's just draw something on here so we know where it is. Where is it actually? Okay, there's my raster layer. And let's say I wanted this raster layer, let's just get all funky with it here, to move over here. And so that's where the raster layer is. If I move the table, it's moving both of my columns with it because they're both attached. So that's just a nifty little thing if you've got like 20 columns that you need to move around and you're having trouble moving the camera, or you don't want to move it around with the camera, you can just go ahead and do that. Another thing is the table, like the camera, will not show up in your X sheet, so you have to come over here to your function editor and edit it that way. So notice I've got two lovely little motions there, and it's going to show up if you go ahead and put your preview on. You can see how it looks there, but it actually looks easier to see in output settings. We're going to make this a daily, and we're going to go ahead and render that. And notice you got all that weird motion in there, but that's just what happened with where we've got all our keyframes. Okay, so that was how to select a certain object or column or camera. Now that you know how to select what you want to edit, this tells you how you're going to edit it. So by default, I believe it's on position, and position is just your basic axes. You've got X, Y, and Z. Now, we're not going to get into Z today because honestly, those three I'm not completely sure as to how they work, and I don't want to make a tutorial on something that I don't understand enough to explain it well. So I'll put a link in the description if I find any good tutorials on the Z-planes. For now, suffice it to say that these have to do with how far forward or backward it is in your Z-plane, and also how everything appears in terms of where it is on that Z-plane. So we're just going to focus on the X and Y, east-west, your horizontal, I believe that's the X-axis, and then you've got north-south, which is your vertical. You can, as you move it around, it's going to edit those numbers. You can edit it by coming in and just changing those numbers. And notice it does still create a keyframe, because all you're doing is editing it by changing this. And let's make it 0 here. So now you got that keyframe going from one to the other. You can also lock, and so if I have the north, south, the up and down locked, it's only going to travel sideways. Doesn't matter where I go, it can only go sideways. If I lock up in the sideways axis, the horizontal axis, I can only go up and down. So that can be very helpful, especially if you're doing, like I said earlier, the walk cycle where you want to go across the screen. Then you can keep it on that level axis without accidentally moving it up and down, and without having to adjust this number 100,000 times. So let's just go back to when there were no keyframes. The next one down is rotation. This is pretty simple. It's just the rotation of it. The nice thing about this is it is keyframeable, and so this could be really good if you're doing a rolling ball and you want to just have it keep rolling without having to necessarily draw it rolling. Or I don't know, if you're doing a somersault. I don't particularly use this very much, but it's really fun to play with. And just like with the position, you can come in here and change this number manually, say 50. That's going to change it. Negative numbers moves it forwards. Negative numbers moves it clockwise. Positive numbers moves it counterclockwise. And as you get around, it's not, it does not seem to understand that it's only a 360 axis. So if you keep going like this and this, it will just forever go up. And I haven't tried it, but it will probably crash the program. So we're just going to 0 this out, just in case, because I don't need a crash. After rotation, you have scale. Pretty nifty, especially for things going backwards and forwards in space if you don't want to use the Z-axis. Got horizontal and vertical. This always throws me off because I think height and what's V? So horizontal and vertical, this is left to right, this is up and down. Again, you can lock these, and normally locking should only do it one way, but apparently that's not the case. So, but that's not the case for moving it like this. This is adjusting your global, which will basically keep horizontal and vertical the same. But you can move those numbers, and since this was locked, it won't maintain anything. Also, I have a feeling that it's this maintain thing only that's keeping it from doing that. Maintain AR will keep the ratios the same. Maintain mass will adjust it so that if this shrinks, this grows, and all that fun stuff. If you lock both, doesn't seem to do anything when you're clicking. That seems like poor design to me, honestly. It could be a glitch. If you're not having this happen, let me know in the comments so I can let everyone know that that's just my machine. So after scale, you've got shear. This one's like, it does that basically. I'm not sure. I don't use shear in other programs. I'm not sure exactly how to describe what this does, but you can make it look like a flat piece of paper. It basically is treating it like a plane, and it's adjusting the height and the width, the horizontal and the vertical, and it does work with the locking. The vertical will only let you shear to the left and right, and locking the horizontal will only let you shear up and down. So all that fun stuff. It's honestly, this tool is very straightforward. It's just playing around with it to get an idea of exactly how it works so that you can use it to the best of your benefit. Finally, we have, after shear, we have center here. And center basically moves this little button here. Moving this means that when you go to rotate, scale, or shear, the focal point has changed to that little dot. When it's the center, it doesn't seem to change anything, because when it's the center of the image, it's kind of like it scales up and down and rotates around the center of that. But when you move it, it becomes a little more obvious as to what it's doing. And it is really good for rotation if you want to rotate around a certain point instead of rotating around the center. And I like to keep it in the center because it's the center. I only move it from the center if like I said, with rotation, I need it to rotate around a certain area. Like if I have, I don't know, a ball spinning on a string and there's a little dot in the middle in here and there's a ball going around, you can make sure it rotates around the center. However, if say the ball I wanted a pendulum and I wanted to put the center right here so that it would rotate around this, that would be another reason to change the center. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you found it helpful. If you have any tutorials you'd like to request, be sure to put them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to comment and subscribe.